Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This week I wanted to discuss a topic that one of my followers sent to me, and I thought that it was very interesting. I do refer to this a lot in my other videos, and I should explain what I mean by that and my own personal experiences of what I've had to go through to understand and realize how important this is. So the topic is victim mentality and just living and breathing and behaving in this self-pity manner. Because I went through something and that really held me back from my healing. And I believe that if you continue staying in this sort of victim mindset or identify yourself as a victim, then all you're doing is prolonging your healing process. So if you haven't been to my channel before, welcome, and to my followers, welcome back. I do these videos on a weekly basis, so please don't forget to click on the subscribe button, like and comment on this video so that you're up to date with all my content coming up. So what is a victim? A victim is someone who's been hurt. And by that, I don't mean just physical pain, but I mean any type of abuse or any type of hurt that's been inflicted on this person. They are now considered a victim. And we all go through that. And being a victim doesn't just mean in relationships or a boss. It just means you are generally being hurt or mistreated, or you believe that you've been dealt an unfair hand. And you have been hurt over that, so that makes you a victim. I definitely don't want to take away from victims who have dealt with severe trauma, violence or abuse. This is not to take away from your trauma or what you've been through, but it's really how we react to that trauma and how we deal with being a victim. Are we gonna accept it, heal and move on, or are we gonna just wallow and just ruminate in this state of why me, why this, why now, and everything bad always happens to me? So that's the difference between someone being a victim, dealing with it, and then when they're no longer in that victimized situation, they've now picked themselves back up and are working on themselves, on healing and moving on. Or there's someone who's been a victim, has gone through trauma, and they're no longer a victim, but they live in that mindset, physiology, emotional state of still being a victim. So they are not letting go of the trauma, they are still reliving it day in, day out, and they're walking around with a victim mentality. So this is what I mean by the victim mentality. I don't mean that, oh, just because this happened to you, get over it and move on. Absolutely not. We all have been victimized and we all deal with it in different ways. Let it hurt you, let it, digest the hurt, accept it, face it, deal with it, and then start healing. And that's what I want to speak to you guys about. There's a big difference between staying in that victim mentality or accepting that you've been a victim, but now you're a survivor. So I'll tell you guys a little bit about my own experience. I went through a few traumatic things about a couple years ago, which really hit me and hurt me, and I really didn't know. First, I didn't want to accept it, and then after I did accept it, I kind of didn't want to deal with it. And the problem was that something happened and then it triggered other things happening. And you know what they say, once it rains, it pours. So then the first thing happened and I was like, okay, this is what's happened. I'm upset, I'm a victim, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was just looking to get myself back up and trying my healing process, and then something else happened. And then something else happened. So then my victim mentality just prolonged. I wasn't catching a break to be able to pick myself back up and start healing. So I was continuously being a victim because I was continuously getting hurt over things that I didn't really have much control over. And what happened to me, because it was one thing after another, I started believing that I deserved this. And so this is just who I am now. All bad things will keep happening to me. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I catch a break? This is what I deserve. This is what's being served to me. I'm never going to be happy again. So the problem was that it wasn't the one-off trauma. It was several events that happened which kept me in the victim mentality mindset. And so that slowly but surely became my mood naturally. And if you don't fix that mood, then it will become your temperament, which will be a part of who you are. And you don't want to have a victim mentality temperament as what people would describe you. Someone who's always negative and who's always nagging and who's always just living in despair. That is not what you want to be identified as, and that is not who you want to be. So for me, because it was a prolonged time of believing that I was a victim, it then slowly just became a part of who I was. So I went through a phase where I had anxiety and depression, and I didn't actually know that I had either. I was just miserable the whole time. And I was walking around with this victim mentality that I have a right to be upset. I have complete and utter right to be mean and horrible because you guys know what's going on in my life. I felt like, well, you guys should know. Don't you know what I've been through? To people around me and who were my friends who were trying to help me or trying to speak to me about things. I gave myself this entitlement that it was okay for me to walk around acting like a victim because of the things that had happened to me. And because I was thinking like that, I wasn't actually accepting that I'm behaving this way, or I wasn't seeing it. So I continued doing that for about 2 years, and all I was doing is just stopping myself from getting better and letting go of what had happened. To me, it became my protective layer. I felt good knowing that I'm allowed to be this upset, so let me just continue being this upset. And that's okay if it happens for a short period of time, because you have to go through that to then start healing. But I wasn't letting go of it. And that's what stopped me from healing and getting back to the old me that I used to be, or actually the new, stronger me that is today. But I wasn't allowing myself to get to this stage because I was just holding on to this hurt and to this victim mentality. And I was just living in a very pessimistic perspective where everything that bad happened, I was like, I knew it. Well, of course this was going to happen. And if the good happened, I was like, it's only a matter of time before something goes wrong. Something bad is around the corner. So I was willing it, and I was putting it out there in the universe because that's what I truly believed about myself. And it just prolonged and prolonged my healing process and for me to actually get better. That's why it's so important for me to share my experience with you guys, because I've personally firsthand experienced how that is and how detrimental a victim mentality can be. This self-pity, this behavior of, well, I can do this because I've been through that, like justifying irrational behavior because you feel like you're allowed to, due to being a victim. And the only person that you're really stopping from growing and moving on is yourself. So if you feel like you're one of those people that's constantly self-pitying, or just always thinks that you've been dealt a bad hand and all bad things always happen to you and you seem to attract all the bad people in your life, then most likely that you're walking around with this victim mentality. So what are signs to look out for if you believe that you are just self-pitying or wallowing in victimization? The first thing is that everything that happens to you has a negative tone. So you just look for the negative in stuff. If an amazing opportunity comes along, you would straight away jump on things that could go wrong. So your overall attitude, approach, mindset is just very, very negative. The second sign to look out for is if you're constantly questioning things like, why? Why is this happening to me? Why today? Why now? Why him? Why her? Why? You're, instead of being proactive about every situation that goes wrong, that, oh, this is what's happened, this is the role I had to play, this is what they did, this is how we can fix it, this is the solution, and we're moving on. You are just looking at it and thinking, well, here we go again. Why me? Why again? The third thing would be that you really dwell on things. You really just constantly just exhaust yourself, your mind, and the situation. You dwell and you wallow and you just analyze and you cannot get over it. So you are holding on to this toxic, negative, dwelling energy. The fourth thing that really sticks out if you are in this victim mentality is that you don't really think highly of yourself. So if you don't think so highly of yourself and you constantly put yourself down and you don't feel like you're deserving of good things, or if a good thing comes to you, all you're doing is looking for the negative, and you're constantly just, oh yeah, I always do this, I'm so sorry, you know, like I always mess up, it's always my fault. The fifth sign to look out for is that your first emotion, or most things, anger you. So you're just walking around just being very on edge, antsy, agitated, and just pissed off. If a friend of yours bought a new car, you feel resentful towards them. Not because you don't want them to do well or that you're hating. You just think, why don't these things happen to me? You're envious and you're just really resentful towards anything good that goes on anybody else's life, because you believe that everything bad is happening to you and everything is good is happening to other people. So we have to snap out of this neediness and this victim mindset and really start thinking and analyzing how we react to situations. At the end of the day, you cannot control anything that happens to you. That's beyond you. But the only thing that you can have control over is your mood, your temperament, your attitude, your reaction. So if you can slowly work on those, then you're retraining yourself not to think so negatively. So my first piece of advice to you guys would be to set yourself small goals that you know you can achieve. And each time you achieve them, be proud of that. And you can see that you are capable, you are good enough. Because once you stop letting yourself down, then you're going to stop letting other people down. But if you can keep those promises to yourself, set those goals and achieve them, that will really bring back your confidence in your abilities. And it will retrain your brain into thinking that you are capable and you can be positive about situations. So set yourself small goals and overcome them, and then reward yourself for being positive and achieving something. And with that, you start building gratitude and an appreciation for yourself that you didn't really have before. The next thing that I would say is start doing things for other people. Because when you have this victim mentality, you kind of have this expectation of other people doing things for you because you're the victim. Like they should take care of you and they should do things for you. And every time they don't, and they don't live up to those expectations that you've built up in your head, you are then disappointed all over again. You are then enforcing this victim mentality because you think, well, I knew this wasn't going to work out. I knew they were going to let me down because it's my fault and I'm so bad and I'm not a good friend and therefore they're letting me down. But that's not really the case. It's because when you feel like you do, you just have these expectations of other people and you expect others to take care of you and do things for you. And the minute they can't fulfill your expectations that they don't really even know about, you're straight away disappointed and you're projecting that onto them. So in order to overcome this, the thing to do would be to start being there for other people and start helping them. Even if it's a small little thing, first of all, from a victim, you're going now to being someone's hero. So that's already making you feel like you're needed, you're validated, you're dependable, people can rely on you, and you're a hero in someone's story. So that victimization mindset kind of shakes off. You start feeling capable. You stop doubting your own abilities. Being in victim mode, you are constantly concentrating on the negative and the lack of things. The things that you don't have, the things that you want, the things that you can't get. So you're constantly just concentrating on all the negatives. And for you to live in the present and really appreciate all the good things you have and to start thinking in a positive, a glass half full mindset, then it's good for you to start writing a gratitude list. So all the things that are going well for you, all the things that you're grateful for, be it your friends, your family, your loved ones, your job, your hobbies, or things that are just working out or are looking on the positive. Make that gratitude list. Write those things down. By writing them, you're one, reinforcing it in your head, and two, you have a place to reference back when you are just relapsing a little bit into your victim mindset. So every time you feel like, oh, here we go again, oh, this is happening to me again, why is this happening? You can then look at your gratitude list and see of all the things that you do have, things, resources that you can turn to, friends that you could rely on that could help you get through this. So it just puts things into perspective and brings you back to the present, which is one of the most important things that I would say is to be mindful of always not living in your trauma and bringing yourself back to where you are and how far you've come. Which brings me to my next point, and that is to get closure on your past hurts. So if you're going to continuously living in the past, then you're making your body, mind, and emotions relive your trauma all over again every single day, which means that you are not getting closure. You are not accepting that hurt. You're not accepting that this has happened to you for you to start healing and moving on. You are holding on to it. So if that means forgiving people, not for them, they don't even have to know about it. You don't have to reach out and say, hey, by the way, I forgive you. They may not even want your forgiveness, but that forgiveness is for you. You are giving that forgiveness to the person because you need to close that chapter, accept what has happened, and think, you know what, it's happened to me and I've accepted it, and I'm just going to set you free by forgiving you. I'm not going to allow you to take so much real estate in my mind. You don't deserve that. And by forgiving someone or a situation or whatever, you are closing the door on it and letting it go. And you need to sometimes do that for yourself, not for the other person. So forgiveness isn't a sign of weakness, it's just you accepting what has happened and letting it free, letting it go. And sometimes that forgiveness is also aimed towards ourselves. We could be very hard on ourselves, and if you've made a number of bad decisions in your past and you're still beating yourself up about it, then you're not really accepting that you've done that. You're not looking at the core issues. You're just blaming, and you're blaming yourself. So if you find yourself attracting the same sort of people all the time, or you find yourself that you're drawn to the same sort of abusive, narcissistic people, then really analyze why that is, what draws you to them, which will take some work on your behalf, but then see where the root cause of this is and press the reset button and start clean. Understand the problem, and once you understand it, you can deal with it. And this is when you have to really realize all the things that are holding you back or making you feel like a victim, what they are, and dealing with them, facing them, and closing those chapters so that you can start your healing process. Lastly, take ownership of the decisions that you make. No one can impose anything on you. No one can make you feel any type of way if you don't allow them to. So take responsibility for that. If someone's constantly toxic and negative around you, then remove yourself from them. Create distance. And if it's someone like a parent or a family member that you can't really get rid of, then create emotional distance between you guys so that you are protected and you are safe and you are prepared. No one can really harm you if you don't give them that importance. So just remember that this person is quite negative towards me, so I'm just not gonna spend that much time or effort with them. And prioritize your well-being above keeping other people happy. As I mentioned before, we all go through hurt, but don't let those past hurts define your everyday and your future. You are in total control of how you think about situations, and just because you've been through one thing or one trauma, that should not be the make-all or end-all of who you are. We all go through situations and traumas that make us victims. But if you're dwelling in that mindset and if you're just wallowing in toxic energy, then you've got to identify it and get rid of it. You are 100% capable of doing that. You have that power. All it takes is to reset your mindset. But it will take daily practice and a lot of work on your behalf to wake up every day and have a proactive mindset. So it's about identifying if you really do that and getting to the root of the problem and healing it and moving on. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel, like and comment on this video, and I'll see you guys again here next week with a new topic. Mwah.